I'm Sheriff John Bunnell. What is it about police pursuits to keep us all on the edge of our seats? What's so interesting, so compelling, so terrifying? I was in law enforcement for 27 years, and I can tell you, what may seem to be exciting is more often deadly. So buckle up. This is your first-class ticket to high-speed action, and you're in the driver's seat. Dayton, Ohio. Here is a man who is about to find out why they put airbags in cars. The state highway patrolman chases a suspect in a stolen car. With nothing but open road ahead of him, he pushes the car as hard as he can. He picks up momentum downhill. He wants to turn left, but at these speeds, he'll never make it. He jumps the curb, and the grassy hill acts as a ramp, sending his car flying over 30 feet and crashing through the truck. As the officer gets close, he makes a startling discovery. The suspect is still alive, saved by the airbag in his stolen vehicle. He'll stand trial for grand theft auto. This is where criminals belong. But if one ever manages to escape, you can bet officers won't rest until they're brought back, even if it takes the entire force. Peach County, Georgia. The men in this SUV are about to make a huge mistake. It's not their first. The fleeing men have stolen their car, but the suspects are not mere thieves. The men have a history of running and doing what's needed to get away. The situation becomes more dangerous as traffic on the interstate increases. The driver slams on his brakes, trying to force the officer into a rear-end collision. But the trick doesn't work. Up ahead, even more deputies wait in the wings. The two counties, now united, form an unshakable team. They make their move. In a last-ditch desperation move, the men ram one of the cruisers. Bad idea. In the blink of an eye, the officers are all over them. When criminals break out of prison, word travels fast. Because of the grave threat to public safety, these officers mobilized quickly and massively to make sure these escapees went right back where they belong. Dooley County, Georgia. This daredevil car thief races across the state line from Florida into Georgia, weaving in and out of traffic in a reckless attempt to outsmart the police.
He's off the road, the guy's going crazy. He's all over the road.
Finally, he outsmarts himself. Watch how he tries to push the cop. Big mistake.
Reference 1080, 10-4. He's crashed, he's wrecked.
He flips over, actually rolling into oncoming lanes and landing on his roof. But incredibly, he's uninjured. They're not going to give this man any chance to turn this into a foot chase.
One suspect in custody, code for one in custody.
Coming up on World's Wildest Police Games, the insanity of high-speed pursuits. A crazed woman goes on the warpath. A lunatic thief makes his own path. They're next. Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised. When kids run from the law, they think the worst case scenario is juvenile hall. But there are some consequences worse than getting caught by the cops. Oak Park, Michigan. A car alarm sets off a high-speed chase toward Detroit city limits.
We had a crime spree going on with stolen vehicles, and this gang was hitting Jeep Cherokees. And we had lost 10 or 12 of them in the previous 3 weeks.
But there's a hitch to the pursuit. Oak Park policy prevents officers from continuing a chase out of their jurisdiction. The officers have to catch the gang red-handed before they cross into Detroit, or they'll get away scot-free. The juvenile delinquents create their own shortcut through a playground, making the most of the Jeep's four-wheel drive. One officer races to head the suspects off, but the Jeep rumbles past them back onto the pavement. With the Detroit city line just a few blocks away, time is running out.
7-7, northbound.
Officer Don Gundy turns head-on toward the pursuit. He's the only cop left between the suspects and their escape.
I knew that I had to. I know if they get past me, they got a free shot home, and they'll get away.
The Jeep loses traction and turns too wide, sending the SUV plowing over a tree. The driver and accomplice are nabbed on the scene. These juvenile delinquents played a dangerous game in the adult world of crime, thinking their age would protect them from any long-term punishment. But in the real world, some penalties cannot be reduced with good behavior. Because no matter how lenient the law may be due to their age, at least one of the kids will be paying the price long after his childhood ends. Boston. State Police Officer Mike Fiore spots a stolen car.
I got a pursuit, Tremont Street. It appeared he attempted to run over a Boston PO, okay? Coming up to Washington Street.
Not expecting other traffic on the road at this hour, the suspect increases his speed to 80. Up ahead, a driver is pulling over for the sirens. With the entire lane open to the suspect's left, avoiding this car should be easy. Not for this suspect. He actually thinks he can pass this car on the right. Wrong.
He just crashed into a car. Stand by.
Incredibly, he speeds off, but his engine is badly damaged. It starts to smoke, forcing him to a stop. This chase is over. When a professional car thief commits a robbery, he does it quickly and quietly. But an amateur thief is likely to do something so stupid, he'll amaze even the most experienced officer. Montgomery County, Alabama. Moments ago, the owner of this convertible was a witness to an accident.
Of a Mustang southbound.
But while he was giving a statement to police, this man took off in his car, in full view of both the owner and the officer.
Straddling the line.
Now in control of the dream car he's always wanted,
And he picked it up to 85 miles per hour.
the car thief decides to see what it can handle. He takes the automobile for an unauthorized test drive through the thick of commuter traffic.
We've been all over the road now.
As if he were trying to do the dirty deed himself, the suspect zips through a tiny opening between two cars.
It almost looks like he's trying to flip it the way he's doing those zigzag patterns.
But after repeatedly testing Lady Luck, misfortune finally catches up to the fugitive. He loses control and slingshots across the center divide. Police can only hope that the car thief kept the car from going belly up. By the time the pursuing officer makes a U-turn to survey the scene, state and county officers have the suspect and his stolen ride in custody.
202, subject in custody.
This guy tried to sneak in a day in the sun with his favorite automobile.
Driving all over the road.
And when he finally got what he wanted, he nearly killed himself trying to keep it.
It almost looks like he's trying to flip it the way he's doing those zigzag patterns.
But in the end, This crook's grand theft auto took him out of the driver's seat of his dream car and into the back seat of a patrol car. Coming up on Police Game.
Watch out.
The riskiest chases, the biggest crashes, the most dangerous moments, from beginning to end. This is justice at its most extreme, and this is as close as you can get without being there.
If you've been drinking, a designated driver is a great idea. The trick is that you've got to make sure the designated driver doesn't drink.
Kego Harbor, Michigan. A drunk driver tears through town at 70 miles an hour. The suspect's driving his friend home, in spite of the fact they've been drinking all night at the local bar.
He's all over the road.
The man in the passenger seat has known the driver for less than 2 weeks. His life is in his new drinking buddy's hands. And right now, those hands are very unsteady. The car jams down the straightaway at excessive speeds. But when the road curves, the driver is taken by surprise. Between the speed and the booze, the suspect can't react in time.
Just piled up and rolling.
It's rolling.
Pursuing officer races over to help the unconscious driver, who's trapped inside. Remarkably, he suffers only minor injuries. Both men are lucky to be alive. When the passenger got into this drunk driver's vehicle, he didn't know the guy had a suspended license. He also didn't know that his buddy had a previous DUI. And he certainly didn't know his pal's blood alcohol level was triple the legal limit. In the end, what he didn't know almost killed him. I've seen it time and time again. A suspect on the run gets in the clear and then somehow manages to bungle his own escape. Cottonwood, Alabama. Assistant Police Chief John Bunnell is on the lookout for a bank robbery suspect. But it looks like the robber may have gotten away. To his surprise, Bunnell suddenly spots his fugitive.
I got a visual on him now.
Stop the vehicle and pull over.
For reasons known only to himself, this bank robber is headed back into town.
We're in pursuit. Eastbound on 36.
But the suspect takes the chase cross-country, and the officer stays right behind him.
He's going off the field here. Going out the field.
Seeing that his off-road run isn't doing a bit of good, the suspect heads for the street again. Now back on pavement, Officer Vaughn tries to put an end to the absurd getaway.
Let's go short, hit him as you can.
But the police cruiser is no match for the massive truck. It barely budges, even after a second pit attempt by the officer.
Maybe they're coming back towards you.
But what the suspect doesn't know is that the chief of police is waiting up ahead. And by the time the suspect sees the cruiser coming, it's too late to turn away.
Gotta hit that cruiser and get out of the way.
The suspect loses control and hits the chief of police head on.
Fire and rescue, meet it.
But incredibly, he walks away without a scratch. In his attempt to run, he may have thought he pulled off the perfect heist.
Maybe they're coming back towards you.
But his botched escape route drove him straight into the hands of the law. Eden, North Carolina. Cops pull over a suspected DUI. Seconds later, the man floors it. A quick license plate check reveals the man is a repeat DUI offender with a revoked license. He may have nothing to lose by running so wildly, but everybody else on the road does. He forces a car onto the shoulder.
Close one there. Close one there.
Swerves toward this car.
Near TC, right there. Near TC.
80 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour.
Officers know this drunk's luck could turn at any moment. They pray they can stop him before he kills someone. But suddenly, he stops himself. Watch the taillights as this car rolls over. Amazingly, he's able to walk away, suffering only minor bruises and cuts, while everybody else on the road gets the scare of their life. Because of his record, this driver knew he was going to jail even if he hadn't run. The only difference now, twice the time behind bars. DUIs aren't always about alcohol. Sometimes a person taking medication can be every bit as dangerous as a drunk driver. Wharton County, Texas.
Okay, 911 emergency.
There's a little clear car. He's drunk. He's all over the road. He just went up in the ditch right now again and came back up. Oh, there he goes again. Okay, there's a cop right there.
An El Campo police officer responds to the 911 call. But before he can make contact, the suspected drunk makes an insane maneuver, driving onto the wrong side of the freeway. A thundering truck barely misses him.
Oh, so we need a unit to stop traffic somewhere before he causes the accident.
With vehicles speeding towards him, the officer makes a swift retreat back across the median. Now all he can do is follow the suspect's suicide run.
Jackson County has been notified.
Looming on the horizon is another truck, a 40-ton big rig that can't move aside in time.
507 subject just hit an 18-wheeler.
The semi sheared the side of the driver's car, bursting a tire. And the hapless suspect is unable to continue.
Subject has a flat front tire.
The officer seizes the moment and moves in for the arrest.
Stop! Get out of the car now!
The officer was surprised to discover the driver wasn't drunk. He was in diabetic shock. Without his insulin, he had no idea what he was doing.
Subject just hit an 18-wheeler.
When the officer discovered the driver's condition, he traded the cuffs for an ambulance, and the man received the medical attention he needed. Avon, Ohio. A driver weaves recklessly down the road. A police officer turns on his lights and siren. But the driver doesn't stop. Instead, he almost clips a car. But what happens next is amazing. He heads toward an intersection, but he's still not stopping.
Right there. He just wrecked. He just TC'd.
The officer fully expected alcohol to be the reason for this crash. Instead, he discovered that the driver was a diabetic. The man had lapsed into diabetic shock on his way to the store. In a flash, this officer went from pursuer to rescuer, and although he couldn't prevent the crash, he used his training and instinct to save this man's life. Lexington, South Carolina. A patrolman spots a man who just left a suspected crack house. A standard check on the vehicle's tags reveals the plates are stolen. The suspect knows he's as good as busted, so he goes for broke. Bailing off the boulevard, the crackhead winds through service roads.
Careful on the lead vehicles, he's still running.
Threading afternoon traffic, his gas pedal is jammed to the floorboard.
Just about 60 miles an hour.
The drug-crazed man blazes toward crossing cars without flinching, putting a stunned motorist into double jeopardy. The fugitive avoids one vehicle, but the suspect can't miss the second. An innocent driver is spun out as the impact sends the runaway right off the road. After checking on the victims, officers approach the wreck and find the suspect alive and alert. For now, the mayhem is over. Buying a rock of crack may seem like a victimless crime, but when this guy decided to run,
10-4, I'm the lead vehicle. He's still running.
his decision impacted more than just himself. It happens every day. Ordinary citizens step over the line
He has completely lost control.
and into a world of crime. The reasons they do it are never simple. Some think it's the easy way. Some think it's the only way. But the reality is clear. Once you're into a life of crime,
Hey, we can't break, baby.
no matter how hard you try, there is never an easy way out.